You're listening to Nick Luck Daily. This edition is brought to you by Timeform, your trusted source for racing data and analysis. By Total Performance Data, the global leader in live horse racing data. This edition is also brought to you by Gstaad, laying some of the world's largest sporting wagers since 1882. Good morning, it is Royal Ascot Day 1. It's Tuesday the 16th of June and it has dawned bright and sunny, around about 23 degrees Celsius as we speak. I'm joined by the Racing Post senior writer Lee Mottershead, right on the winning line at Ascot Racecourse for the first of our podcasts this week from the track. And you are grinning already, which is good news.
What a great day to be alive.
It's a great day to be alive.
I mean, this is always a magnificent week. I think this week looks as good as ever. There's tremendous races across the week, and we just both remarked before pressing the record button, doesn't it look gorgeous? I mean, every year they dress it so beautifully. It is a magnificent racecourse. You look out here from the track and it's so huge, it's so impressive, and it just gets you tingling even before a race has been run.
20 years since they first opened this grandstand. It's bedded in pretty well.
It has, yeah. In some ways, in my head, it feels even longer because it has bedded in so well. There was that first couple of years or so, wasn't there, when there were complaints from some racegoers that the steppings didn't get them high enough. They couldn't really see the racing. But Ascot being Ascot, they reacted to that. And yeah, that old racecourse, it did have enormous charm. There was that beautiful paddock that is now the pre-parade ring. You had amazing elevated views from the grandstand. You had the old BBC broadcast position on Windy Corner. You had the press room.
It feels like an eternity.
It does, yeah. The press room had seats that were imported from a junior school. So you were sat barely able to see the desk. So there was a lot of charm about the place. But this is the right racecourse, the right setting, the right grandstands now setting for the modern racing era. And you could look at any racecourse in the world, and I don't think you could say any was superior to this one.
And it's all very well having a facility that's the envy of everybody, but you've got to have the sport on the playing field that is the envy of everybody as well. And we've got that today, I think, particularly with the Queen and the St James's Palace.
Yeah, they are both stunning contests. I think in the opening race of the meeting, and what a great decision it always is now to have the Queen Anne as the opening race, because you get off with a bang. You've got so many interesting narratives in that race, particularly with the Godolphin angle. We know that Charlie Appleby's record at this meeting in recent years has not been what he would want it to be. He's not had the season so far he probably would have wished it to be. But in notable speech, he's got an absolute warrior, a horse who has this lethal turn of foot. His line to William Buick is always that you've got to ride this horse with balls and wait. And when you think it's time to go, you wait a bit longer. But we also know that in 2 runs here, he's not been at his best. We know Opera Ballo is a horse on a roll, as is his jockey, Billy Lochnan. And then you've got opposition from outside Godolphin. More Thunder, I think, is particularly interesting, Nick, the way he flashed home in the Woking. I think you'll love it. And then, as you say, the St James's Palace Stakes is everything that you would want it to be. Shame that we don't have the French Guineas winner here this year due to a late setback. But that clash again between Boughey and Gstaad is mouth-watering. And I just keep going back to that idea that if Gstaad hadn't been in the Guineas, Boughey would have won that by a monster margin.
I know.
It's an extraordinary performance. And it could be, as so many races are here around the round course, it could be very tactical, even with only 6 runners. Normally you see Aidan O'Brien in a big race, and as John Gosden remarked in a piece I did over the weekend, they just go hammer it from the front, and races sometimes become a slog. With those two, with Gstaad and Puerto Rico, that's not going to happen, is it? So I'm not sure how that race pans out, and what I'm certain of, though, is that the jockeys on the principles will have to be incredibly alert to every move being made. Yeah,
I mean, the good news is that Boughey's a horse with loads of tactical speed, and I don't think connections are that bothered by the possibility of being jammed in on the fence and saving ground for a little while. Last night at the Goff Sale, we did bring you a special podcast last night from the Goff Sale. If you missed that, you can listen to it after this. We caught up with not only Gstaad's breeder, Kelly Thomas, but first of all, here are the thoughts of George Boughey on his St James's Palace Stakes favourite.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. Look, I think even when I last saw you, there's a lot of hoops to jump through to get a horse to the races, and I couldn't be 1% happier than what he's showing me into the race. So it's really exciting.
And feel down to 6 as well with Raif out. How do you read the draw?
I think the draw is probably less relevant with a few less runners, but he's drawn in 2. It's better than 1, probably. But yeah, look, over to Billy. We had a long chat this morning and we went round and round in circles, and it's kind of over to him. So he knows the horse better than I do, and over to Billy.
Squad in good nick?
Yeah, good form. Look, quite a lot of seconds at the moment, but I think we're gearing around this week. A lot of the nicer horses are running, and starting to run some 2-year-olds, and run a nice filly in the Albany, and a couple that are working around her are starting to run. So yeah, it's an exciting time.
Yeah, Libertango's your Albany filly, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She worked beautifully a couple of days ago, and yeah, she's as nice a 2-year-old as we've sent to Ascot, I think, for that race. And Soprano and Awaken are both in place in the race, so hopefully she can be in the mix.
All right, that was George Boughey, trainer of Bow Echo, and this is what Dan Barber from Timeform thinks about the St James's Palace today.
And so it rolls round again, Nick. Opening day of the Royal Meeting, and the Timeform perspective unsurprisingly focuses on one horse, and that's Bow Echo. His 131p figure, which we've been discussing for most of the spring into the summer, is a punchy one, and indeed he'll head to the Royal Meeting with only 2 milers rated ahead of him. One of those was Pinatubo, based on his outstanding 2-year-old form, and the other was the Imperious Frankel. And who can not cast their mind back to 2012 and what he did to Celebration? Bow Echo's 131p gives him a clear edge on the re-opposing Gstaad. We expect the form to be upheld, but in historical terms, it is rarefied air to be going into the Royal Meeting with such a high figure, and only those 2 having surpassed it. Quick trip down memory lane. Horses rated 133 fill positions 7 to 10 in the highest rated milers rated by Timeform this century. One of those was Celebration. Just the 11 lengths Frankel put on him in that Queen Anne. Bow Echo isn't another Frankel. There'll never be another Frankel, but he's doing a pretty good job of solidifying and cementing his status as an outstanding young miler, and that can continue today. Other end of the trip spectrum, another horse Timeform I'm looking forward to is Valiancy, who goes in the closing Copper Horse handicap. A real handicap class riser, this horse. He's been going through the grades, strong finisher once he gets motoring, and that outside stall in 14 might not be a negative. He has got a powerful late burst, shade certainly of other cup horses or potential cup horses who've run in the Wathnan Silks as he bids to justify favouritism in the last. But I think it's pretty clear we're with Bow Echo today, and we expect him to continue to take all the beating amongst the milers this year.
That's Dan Barber's view, the view from Timeform, who took a very, very lofty opinion of Bow Echo's Guineas victory, in which, of course, he defeated Gstaad quite comprehensively. Gstaad's come out and won the Irish Guineas, and I caught up with his breeder, Kelly Thomas, at Goffs last night.
Oh, I'm very excited. It's very thrilling to have a runner. It's going to be a tough race, I'm sure. Bow Echo seems to be something special. We've seen a lot of him on social media this week, and he looks to have come on a little bit physically, and obviously his team are very confident. I haven't heard too much from our team, but I've been reliably told that he's come on since the Curragh, so we'll see what happens.
Kelly Thomas there, and before that, George Bow. Bowie's been brilliant, really. I mean, high pressure stuff having a horse of this calibre in your yard. I think they're rating him the 2nd best horse in the world at the moment. He's got a whole bank of screens in his office which have got different camera angles of Bow Echo on it. But he jokes about it, but it is the high pressure stuff.
Absolutely, and it's been a pressurised ride all the way through, really. Even when the awful news that Sheikh Mohammed Abeid had died, there was that question mark of, well, will the new operation, if you like, take him somewhere else? They didn't do that. They kept him with George. George has proved that to be an eminently sensible decision, but it is a big pressure moment. This is the best horse he's trained. It could be the best horse he ever trains, Nick. So he has handled it incredibly well. So has Billy Loughnane. We were both at Sandown on Saturday. He was saying yes to anyone who wanted to interview him, and I thought he looked incredibly relaxed and self-confident about this horse, and his role on this horse. So they have both really helped to sell Boughey to the wider public, and it's just possible that when we get past the St James's Palace today, we will be saying that this really is not just a very good horse, but a great horse.
Yeah, on your Charlie Appleby point earlier on, of course, Billy rides Opera Ballet, the second string for Godolphin in the first race, the Queen Anne Stakes, of a horse I love and have gone quite big into today. And then David Yates on yesterday's podcast, reinforcing your point, Charlie won for his last 36 and the one with Rebel Romance, and you're thinking, and I've gone for his second string in the opening Group 1, but it's got to turn at some point.
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, he is too good a trainer, he has too good horses not to have winners here. We all know how important this meeting is to Godolphin, as it is to every major bloodstock operation, and we know that there is pressure to produce winners at a meeting like this, so he won't be happy that in the last 3 years he's got one success, and that came on the final day of last year. But I don't know, looking at his squad across the major festivals so far and here this week, it's not as deep as it would have been in previous years, so his chances of success are much slimmer than, say, Aidan O'Brien, but the first race will to a great extent dictate how their week goes.
All right, we need to get an update on the state of conditions. A few moments ago I caught up with the clerk of the course here, Chris Stickles. Chris, what can you tell us about the ground?
Well, we're good to firm, good in places as we speak, but I do anticipate that changing to good to firm. You know, whether we do it late morning or during the afternoon, it's, you know, I think with this drying sunshine, and we haven't now watered since Sunday night on the round course, so I imagine we'll change it to good to firm at some point shortly.
I know you talked to Tom on the podcast last week about the watering policy. You're trying to get the water down well in advance of the meeting. Is that so you can have a more natural surface through the fixture?
Well, yeah, it's also better because then when you've got an even moisture distribution, you can it doesn't dry out underneath, and if it does start to dry and you've got to do a lot of watering, you don't want it really easy on. It's just sort of softer on top and dry underneath, because then that becomes a difficult surface to manage, and it might become slippery. So really, an even moisture distribution is the way forward, and also then it helps us maintain it with just putting a little bit on if we need to through the week each night.
We talk a little bit about this trampoline effect. I know you and James Willoughby have talked about this, and Ed Arkle, and we've been talking about it at Goodwood as well. This idea that if you get a bucket of rain like we had, say, last week and 2 weeks ago, and then it dries, and then you allow the moisture to distribute evenly, you can actually get some very fast times run. Is that what you'd anticipate?
I'd anticipate quite fast times today, although because we have not now watered, we didn't water yesterday and we didn't water last night, so it's Sunday the last time this had moisture, so this will be probably the driest it's going to be all week, because if we do water each evening now after racing, then there'll be a little bit going on each night. So however, there is a bit of a headwind today. So that is surprising how much a breeze makes a difference. Quite often, here, we quite often get an easterly, which will be behind them. That will, obviously increase the speed. So it's either an easterly or westerly, and today it's slightly in their, slightly in their faces. So yeah, that might affect the times a bit, but it's going to be a fast surface all week, I think.
And then if you water, what do you do? 4 or 5 mils every night, something like that?
That's it. We work out the evapotranspiration. The weather station kind of works that out for us. And yeah, we just try to put back what's lost, really, just to try and maintain those similar conditions through the week if we can do it.
I've been talking to one or two of the jockeys already. They're like, am I on the wrong side in the insert name of race up the straight track? Where do you think they'll start to converge, if anywhere?
Oh, I don't know, really. It varies. I mean, I'd much prefer they raced up the centre, really. And I think the centre is, pretty decent, but obviously it's easier to ride against the rail because you've got something to ride against. I don't know. Look, we'll see.
Okay, but is the stick saying it's fairly even across?
Well, the stick is saying that the stand side and centre, and I've just had them back, and I'll publish them shortly, and I can't remember off the top of my head because I've only just come in, but the stand side and centre are the same, and the far side is just a fraction below those two readings. And that's what it's been, to be honest, for the last 3 days. So, it's just dried out a little bit, but yeah, stand side, centre are the same, and the far side's slightly below that. But I mean, it's fractional.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Nick.
Chris Stickles, I mean, I kind of didn't want to almost ask him the question at the end there about where they're going to race, because I know it's infuriating, but if you've got a track of this width, jockeys will start perpetuating their own areas where they want to start converging, and the rails will start to develop their own little biases as the week goes on. he did say that the ground was a little tighter on the stick, centre to stands, than it is far side. Certainly in the King Charles III, the big sprint race today, Lee, a lot of that quality and pace looks to be high. And funnily enough, it's the same in the Coventry. A lot of the fancied horses are drawn quite high as well.
Which could make life complicated, because if that does prove to be the case, if the pace really is materialising towards the stand side, you'd expect the horses drawn towards the far side to converge towards the stand side, and things will inevitably get messy. They're bound to get messy in some ways in a 26 runner Group 1 sprint. And I think, you know, that is one of the marvellous things about how this meeting has developed. Nowhere else in the world could you conceive of having a Group 1 race with 26 runners in it, but it's almost become the norm here. You know, not long ago, you'd have been looking at the 2-year-old races here at the Royal Meeting, and they'd have been having 12, 13, 14, 15 runners in them. Most of them now are 20 runners plus. Queen Mary tomorrow, a huge field. So, yeah, I think trouble in running is inevitably going to be a factor, not just on the round course, but on the straight course too.
Now, there's a horse who won on the straight course last year at a huge price, and we were having this exact conversation before the Commonwealth Cup, because we got to Friday last year and we were saying, well, you can't win from a low draw. Rule out the low draws. I had a share in a runner who was drawn high. I was rubbing my hands together thinking this is all panning out beautifully, and lo and behold, up pops Time for Sandals at a huge price from a low draw, and she's back today with a similar sort of predicament in the King Charles III, and her rider is fresh off the plane from Hong Kong. He's been drafted back by trainer Harry Eustace, Richard Kingscote. You're looking well on the Hong Kong beat for sure.
Yeah, it's suiting me well. Looking after myself, so it's good.
Did you not always look after yourself though?
Yeah, but there's only so much you can do when you spend umpteen hours in the car. You know, our facilities there are top notch, so we have the time to sit down and have a meal and go to the gym and see the physio and the chiropractor. So it's great.
So life's treating you really well. You've settled in really well there.
Yeah, we've settled in. Everyone's happy. Kids are comfortable, and it's a nice way of life. Obviously, there's trade-offs, but so far it's been good.
It strikes me, talking to jockeys who do make the move to Hong Kong, that if you take family there and family settled and happy, then you can actually really relax and quite enjoy the business of it, even though it is a very different way of life.
It is a very different way of life, something we've not been used to. You know, obviously the kids have their wobbles, missing friends and stuff, but fortunately they've settled into a fantastic school, and Ashley's quite enjoying herself. It's, as I say, there's different challenges, but they've taken them well.
Okay, and how about the riding itself and the competitiveness of that group of jockeys? We hear about it a lot. What's it like in reality to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, all in all, everyone gets on well, but it is cutthroat. Yeah, that's one of the new stresses, you know. Am I going to get work? Where's the next winner going to come from? You know, as you know, it is unbelievably competitive. My winners have, for the most part, been big prices that have had the rub of the green on the day.
Well, the average SP of one of your mounts is probably pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. You know, first season, it's been tough to find my feet, but I've had a nice bit of support from a good few trainers. My licence has actually been renewed for next season, which is great. So we'll have another go.
Is that breaking news?
The club announced it on the website yesterday.
Oh, okay, so yeah, it's relatively breaking.
Yeah, it is.
We'll take that.
You know, I only got the letter on the weekend to say my licence has been accepted for another 6 months. So yeah, we have another chance.
Well, that is great news. I'm really thrilled for you, and hopefully it's onwards and upwards from here. Equally so that you're back here to ride last year's winner Time for Sandals in the King Charles III. How are you feeling about her chance this time round?
Yeah, obviously I don't think we've seen her best so far this year. Hopefully, Harry said she's in fantastic form now. I'm looking forward to sitting on her, and I'm very grateful to the Bevans for bringing me over.
Well, you can't break a winning formula, can you?
No, exactly. But obviously, when you go away, you understand that people need continuity with their horses. So I didn't expect to be coming back for her, but it's great that I am.
And given the fact these field sizes are huge, and there are some old contacts knocking about who'll have multiple runners, is there anything else for the rest of the week?
I've picked up one for Tom and one for Rafe on Thursday.
Tom
Dascombe.
Oh, proper old school.
Yeah. You know,
I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice that he's got one that he could throw me on, and Lawrence Bellman, obviously an old supporter of mine. So, yeah, and then obviously we'll see today whether the filly comes back for Saturday.
Okay. Oh, so that's a possibility, is it, that she could run again Saturday?
Yeah, my flight's not till Saturday afternoon, but obviously I've got to go back for racing Sunday. So if she doesn't run, I'll move my flight early.
You're soon forgotten. I don't suppose you'll mind me saying that you had to persuade the gate man first thing this morning at 7 o'clock that you were for real.
Well, I'm unknown anyway, but yeah, I'm a bit early.
Yeah, but anyway, the extraordinary thing was that I walked in with Angus Loughran and he said, well, if you two know him, he must be all right. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, this is a Group 1 winning jockey, Lee.
Yeah, it's
something not right about that.
No, but there are a legion of stories of people, Nick, who can't get where they want to be on a racecourse like this. And you have arrived very early, to be fair. What I'm interested, Richard, in terms of this year with no direct Hong Kong representation in the races here, what sort of interest is there among the Hong Kong racing fraternity in this meeting?
Well, being a World Pool meeting, you know, there has been plenty of interest. There is a delegation of people coming from the club, I believe, and it's a week of no racing because, you know, the Hong Kongers enjoy Ascot, they realise its significance and they support it through World Pool. Okay,
are you off to run now?
I've had a little jog, I'm going to walk for a bit, just get moving.
All right, great to see you.
See you soon.
Good luck.
Richard Kingscote, he's one of the most cool and even-tempered people in the game, I think.
Yes, he is, and the fact that he has got that licence renewed in Hong Kong is no mean feat.
That's going to he'll have been downplaying, I would imagine, his reaction when he opened that envelope.
That's a big deal because we know that they're not warm and cuddly. The Hong Kong Jockey Club, they don't take decisions like that based on, oh, we like you, but you know, we're not sure you're that competitive here. You have to perform, you have to succeed, and to get the green tick for year 2 is a big deal.
I think he's a great rider. He's a great gate rider as well, and really gets horses forward and rolling. I hope it works out well for him on Time for Sandals today. Do you anticipate as an Aussie-phile, is that a word? I don't know.
You've made it a
word. An Aussie-phile.
Yeah.
That Overpass will be as difficult to beat as one or two of our press room colleagues think in the King Charles III.
Well, I'm sweeter on Jolly Star on Saturday than I am Overstar here today. Overpass, really. I think in some ways the race on Saturday maybe hasn't quite got the strength in depth that this one has today, which is unusual. Normally the Saturday race I think is strong. I'm not sure it is this year. I think Overpass clearly has a massive shot. His run in the Everest is the one that stands out for me. His ability to go more than 5 furlongs will be to his benefit. But I don't think it's a bet race for me, Nick. 26 runners in a sprint here. There's good opposition against him too. I think it's a stronger race than the one that Asfura won 2 years ago or American Affair won last year. I think the Khan Studs filly, Rayevka, is a really intriguing runner. I thought she was desperately impressive last time. I spoke to Francis Graffard yesterday, who sounded pretty keen. You know, he said she's a 5 furlong fast ground filly, and you sometimes you tell someone's tone of voice what they feel, and I felt he was pretty keen on her. So it'll be a watching race for me, Nick, but what a race to watch.
Yeah, I'm quite keen on Rayevka as well. The faster they go, the better for her, enable her to settle and really finish off. Of course, there are quite a few in this race that might well be doubling up on Saturday. We heard from Richard, Time for Sandals is a likely runner Saturday as well. Night Raider's a potential runner in both races. Overpass is a potential runner in both races if he goes well today. And if they did the double, any of them did the double, they'd be emulating Choisir and Blue Point. Choisir, a great international pioneer of the game back in the early 2000s. And earlier today, I caught up with another great Ascot international pioneer, but from the other side of the world. I mean, it wouldn't be Ascot without this man, Wesley Ward. Since 2009, he's been training winners here, but the itch must be extreme this year to get another one on the board, isn't it, Wesley, after a few years without?
We've had a little drought there for a few years and didn't come last year, so to have some live chances, we're excited.
Here they come then. Your little battalion of Royal Ascot runners. Talk me through them one by one.
That Ruiva, she's just went by us there. She's a very talented filly. She's one up in Canada. We took her up there on the poly track because there's only so many turf races that we get to, or grass races that we can run there. So we had to divide them up, and she won convincingly. She was a $600,000 yearling out of Golden Pal, who's a first season sire. So that was a lot of money for a filly like that. She's a big filly, and so we're going to take on the Colts in the Norfolk, and she looks like she's going to be tough.
And Golden Pal, you trained as well. Very, very fast horse.
Very fast, very fast. And he's hopefully he's coming out and throwing winners all over. So we're excited for him as well.
All right. So Ruiva was actually declared in the Queen Mary, but you're going to wait to the Norfolk?
No, Ruiva
is in the Queen Mary.
In the Queen Mary. That's
right.
Easy Tina. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. So Easy Tina runs in the
Easy
Norfolk.
Tina in Norfolk. Yeah.
So she's the one by Golden Pal.
She's the one by Golden
Okay.
Pal. Yeah.
And you've got Shining Moment and Ruiva in the Queen Mary. How would you split them?
Ruiva ran a blistering number there and won by open links at Churchill on her debut on the dirt, and subsequently we breezed her at Keeneland on the grass, and she breezed very fast. So we're excited about hers, and she took to the grass here at Newmarket as well. And Shining Moment is very fast. She's proven. She won at Churchill on the grass, also by Golden Pal. So we're excited.
And Ruiva's ridden by Juan Hernandez. I know you like to bring jockeys who haven't had experience of Ascot over here, and something a little bit different. Why did you go to Juan?
He's Bob Baffert's stable jockey for years and years, and he's won 3,000 plus winners. Really good guy, and he won on the horses, so we're excited.
Okay, you got outfielder for Jason Worth and co. Running a little bit later in the week in the Commonwealth Cup. You had to miss Royal Ascot last year when you were well fancied. You went to Deauville, ran well. What sort of chance do you give him?
Well, he's undefeated this year, with this being, we pointed for this race. So he's come out on the poly track at Turfway and won a $250,000 stake in March, and came back on the grass at Churchill, and he ran open links. He won by. So he hasn't taken on the company in America this year as he did last year in the morning. But the morning was only off a maiden win. He was a little bit less experienced than Gstaad and the others in there. So we're hopeful, especially with the ground being firm this week with the weather, that he's going to like it.
You love it when it gets quick, don't you? That your horses generally don't perform on the soft.
I'm dead if it rains. I just go home. But so this week the weather's coming our way.
And you have won a handicap here as well before with Conte Partiro. You've got Baccio in the Palace of Holyrood House. Can you work out whether Baccio is well handicapped or not?
Well, he's, that's a little foreign to me, the handicapping. But the horse is ready. He's had 4 runs, 3 wins in a second, and he's on the top of his game right now. 5 furlongs, straight 3-year-olds. No matter what type of race that would be in America, he'd be, one of the choices.
I mean, I guess the question is, do you think he's a stakes horse?
Absolutely. The numbers he runs, he's definitely a stakes horse in America. And now coming over here, it's a little different, but he's as fast as racehorses come.
Okay, we talked about Easy Tina going to run in the Norfolk. You've also got Fanshell Beach and Through the Years and that. Are they both running?
They're both running, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to have 3 in the Norfolk.
Yeah. There's a No Name Ever, which I trained, and she's Through the Years is Coolmore bred filly. Got some wonderful partners involved in the filly, and she's done literally nothing wrong. She was beaten on the line in her first race at Keeneland, and that's Joel Rosario opened up on her and kind of was cruising, not to win by too far, and unfortunately right on the last jump he didn't see Flavien Prat coming and beat him, and then she came back to vindicate that with a track record performance at Aqueduct. So she's coming in with solid credentials.
So who's the best chance of the week?
I'll tell you, Ruiva, I'm really excited about that filly, the way she won, and her numbers that came back in America. The buyer of 89 is unbelievable in America, especially in April. Winning by open links, being by Munnings, who's I've had a lot of success with his prodigy on the grass. And closing day, that Easy Tina, she's just a big imposing filly, and they've got big chances as well. I mean, I think all of them do. We wouldn't be here unless we thought we had big chances.
If you weren't confident, there would be something wrong with this meeting. So I wish you all the very best. It's lovely to see you here.
Thank you very much.
Wesley Ward there. I mean, if Wesley Ward is not glass half full, then Ascot just shouldn't take place. But he's had his wings clipped the last few years, but they look a nice clutch of horses, and I think he's playing to his natural game this year with the fast 5s. It's the 5s all the way, blanketing the Norfolk, blanketing the Queen Mary, pop one in the Holyrood House as well.
Yeah.
Hope the track stays quick.
Yeah, we're never going to see Wesley with a runner in the Queen Alexandra, are we? No, he's a 5.
He did win a Sandringham.
He did win a Sandringham once. Yeah, he's a 5 furlong man all the way. Interesting, a few years ago, the market would have listened to what Wesley was saying about his horses in the build-up to Ascot.
And they'd all be 9 to 4 shots.
They'd all be 9 to 4 shots, Nick. Yeah, they'd all be hot favourites. They'd be backed on name and reputation alone. That's not the case now. If you fancy a Wesley Ward trained juvenile Ascot, you're getting a fair price, which you weren't once upon a time. But his recent record here isn't the best, and I think punters will be taking him on.
I remember that first year, Strike the Tiger won at 33 to 1 in the old Windsor Castle, which was the last race on the first day. And the minute it crossed the line, I'm thinking, this bloke's way ahead of the posse here. Yeah. This has got to be way ahead of the posse. And he had Jealous again in the Queen Mary the next day, and I'm like, And I think she was still 10 to 1 at that point. I don't know what price she started, but it was an amazing roll.
It was, and he's brought some incredible beasts to this meeting. Remember Acapulco, who was built like Denman.
Lady Aurelia, who wasn't built like Denman, but was amazing.
Yeah, he's brought some incredible horses here, and if he has happened to have brought one like that, they'll win. But in recent years, he hasn't.
Right, just tidying up the odds and sods today.
Yeah.
Are there any horses more toward the back of the card that you think are worthy of backing?
2 actually. One of them is obvious, Reaching High, who could end up being the best story of the day. In the weakest race of the day, arguably, the Ascot Stakes. But
you can go back to yesterday's first episode and listen to John Warren talking about him. He sounded pretty confident, I
Completely, and I was a backer of Reaching High last year, and I'm still having therapy. It was a desperate
So is Ryan
watch.
Moore, I think.
Yeah, it was a desperate watch, Nick, because every time you thought he might get a gap, it was closed on him. I think it's hard not to feel that had the daylight been there, he would have won that race last year. He comes back off the same mark. Yes, there's a potential fitness question in the sense that they had to sacrifice giving him a run in order to be sure of preserving his mark going into this contest here. But I can't imagine there are many things, perhaps short of a Melbourne Cup victory, that Willie Mullins would love more than to give the King and Queen a winner at Royal Ascot. And I think and I hope that will happen today.
Reaching High in the Ascot Stakes. And anything in the mile 6?
Yeah, actually my nap of the day will be in that one. Duraji, trained by Richard Hughes, one of my sparring partners, ran a massive race in the Chester Cup. She had a great cruising speed in that one. Looking now like he's becoming the horse that Dermot Well thought he might have had at one point. He's benefited from the change of scenery. I think he'll benefit from the drop back in distance today. I'd have loved him to be drawn a little bit close to the fence. He's right out wide. That's not great for a horse that you'd love to have got an easy lead, but I think he has more to give. So I'm going with Duraji at a meaty price in the Copper Horse.
Perfect, Lee. Thank you so much for your company today. Lee got here bright and early just for you for the NLD, so I'm incredibly grateful.
I brought my overnight oats as well, Nick. Raspberries, blueberries, Greek vanilla yoghurt, thing of beauty.
He's had his oats, and there's no appropriate link at that point. And I will just say that was day 1 of Royal Ascot. The sun is now beating down quite hard on the track here. Lovely little gentle breeze. See you at the sports, and if not, we'll keep you entertained for the rest of the week. Bye for now. That was Tuesday, June the 16th, day 1 of Royal Ascot. You've been listening to Nick Luck Daily. Thanks for listening. This edition has been brought to you by Timeform, your trusted source for racing data and analysis, by Total Performance Data, the global leader in live horse racing data, and by FitzDares, laying some of the world's largest sporting wagers since 1882.